Hi guys, final secret project video today. This is for the fourth and final one called the Sunlit Man, and I have included the spoiler stream. So let's start with a synopsis of the story of the Sunlit Man as we know for now. I have some notes here that I have to credit to coppermine.net. So the story takes place in the space age of the Cosmere, and it follows Nomad, who we know is Sigzil, the world singer that we met in Starlight Archive. And he's made immortal through means unknown for now, and accompanied by auxiliary. Let's call him Aux for now. And he's a dead spren-like being that lives in his head. And he's bonded to Sigzil, of course. Nomad skips from planet to planet to escape a group called the Night Brigade, who is hunting him for some unknown reason. Complicating his escape is that Nomad, or Sigzil, is under the effects of a torment, preventing him from causing harm, even in defense of himself or in defense of others, making his body lock up when his mind thinks it's going to do something that's harmful, and he can't even summon Aux as a sword. He has to summon him like a tool, for example a crowbar or a crutch, stuff like that. So he can't use it as a sword or anything sword-like, even though he thinks it's a tool. If it is anything weapon-like, it's a no-go. And his latest skip takes him to a world of deadly sunlight, so we see him captured and placed in an arena. Well, we see him captured first and being tied up, exposed to the sunlight, but he's quick enough to attach himself to one of the bikes, escaping the sunlight and suffering only minor burns instead of burning up. Later he's placed in a fighting arena, and those who lose are set out to die in the sun, as he did in the beginning of the story. The survivors are transformed into these invested warriors. They get stabbed by the Ember King, is his name for now, with a spear in their heart. It causes immense pain, but their heart is replaced by this ember, and they look like they have been burning up from the inside, which they probably have. And they have super strength, super speed, stuff like that. So yeah, they're highly invested and super durable as well. Eventually, there are people that come to rescue those who were captured, and Nomad, Sigzil, goes with them, defending some other woman, one of the rescuers, after her companion dies, and they escape together with one of the others that was in the arena with Sigzil. They have discovered an entrance below the ground, and Sigzil discovers that very quickly, and it's to these lands, these caverns, this tunnel system that was apparently placed there by people from Scadrial. So they have been exploring space as well. And they believe they will find safety there from one, the sun, and on the other hand, the warriors. These people, by the way, are migrated people from Threnody. So they are not the core people of Threnody, where the Shades live. I can't remember the name. Something with shadows and forests. But they are Threnodites that have migrated, but they are not the core Threnodites that still live on that planet. So the setting is a slow spinning world with an elaborate ring system on it, not unlike Saturn. And it spins so slowly that people on bikes can actually outrun the sunset. And the sun is highly invested, causing people to burn, of course. But the rings reflect the investiture and the light of the sun. Well, the light is the investiture, but you know, whatever. And this quickens the growth of plants at an exponential pace. They sow in the morning, and they reap just a few hours later. So they just move along day after day after day, always living in the night because they always have to outrun the the sunrise, and they are constantly on the move and constantly traveling. They also have these bikes that have been suspended off the ground with the same magic system that the Ember King uses to infest people. But not only bikes, there are bikes, but there are also just houses on these suspensors kind of things. Everything clicks together, so you have 27 bikes there, you have a small building there with just a little platform around it, and they all come together, and you have this big city with multiple bigger buildings, and the platforms between or around the buildings actually form up to make streets and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very ingenious, and it's logical in a way as well, because that way if one link breaks, all the others can escape on their own, because they all have their own way of propulsion. So yeah, we have these cities, and I think they're called columns, I don't know, but there are more than one of them. And one, of course, it's the Ember, not the Ember King, it's the Cinder King. The penny just dropped. But there are these refugees, the Trenadites. They have one. The Cinder King, he has one. There are probably multiples we don't know about as of yet. But you know, we get to know them. We will get to know them as the story progresses. And I think for now that's about it. Yeah, I think that, yeah, for now that's about it, considering what we know of the story itself. But of course, there have been spoilers, questions asked by all of our friends that enjoy the Cosmere as well. And I have these notes right here with some extra information here and there. So let's start with Auxiliary and Sigzil. It's been confirmed that Auxiliary is male. Brandon actually started with him as a female, but he found that male works better for the story. And whatever is happening with Aux and Sigzil, you know, calling themselves Knight and Squire and thinking himself is dead, it is related to why the Sleepless have forbidden Risen, who is holding the Dawnshard, to bond the Spren. And Sigzil is finding out firsthand why they warned her, although he did not get a warning himself. So that's very similar, so we will have a good reason to think that Risen will become more important. There's also a slight connection between Nightblood and Auxiliary, but Brandon did not really want to elaborate on it yet, but we know there is one. Otherwise, I think the relationship between Sigzil and Auxiliary, and the relationship between Adolin and his blade Maya, Deadeye blade Maya, could be similar. It's not as of now, but it is theoretically possible. So I think Aux might be some kind of dead spren that has been awakened by biochromatic breaths, as we have seen, of course, by some of our friends in Warbreaker. There's also Susebron. This not really relating to the story, but you know, Susebron from Warbreaker, it comes into my mind. He is more invested than Sigzil is now, but in theory, Sigzil could surpass him. But of course, what we're here for, or what I think I am here for, is the connection between Hoid, Sigzil, and the Dawnshard. So it's been confirmed that they held the same shard, but the way Brandon phrased it sounds like Sigzil has held multiple Dawnshards, because when the question was asked, Brandon said, at one point, Sigzil has held the same shard as Hoid. And he also said this was phrased very intentionally. So yeah, this makes me think, or this implied, that Sigzil has held multiple Dawnshards. After holding that same Dawnshard, they are also connected to each other with small c, and it's possible to trace the connection with a capital C. So yeah, Aux can make connection, so that is something very strange as well, probably related to having the Dawnshard. Sigzil has also seen, mind the word seen, planets that Hoid has never been to. This implies that he might have some kind of spatial vision, or that during his skipping, that he sees a bit of the vacuum of space around him, so that it's not instantaneous, but that it causes him to, I don't know, just faster than light speed, for example. Speaking of skipping, it does not need a perpendicularity to whirl a hop, so this means that he can go everywhere he wants, even if there's no perpendicularity. So it's kind of like related to the surge of transportation, but it's not. In another way, it's a variation of the surge of transportation, let's call it that way. Hoid, however, has not been able to skip in the books we have already had. So Hoid has always traveled the proper way, or the old-fashioned way, between worlds. He will most likely be able to at some point in the future, but Brando raffoed it. Not sure yet, but implied. His skipping also works a bit like Goku's instant transmission, for those who have seen Dragon Ball Z, which is probably a lot of you, in that he is drawn or has to lock onto a source of investiture. So he has to have this magic or investiture, but every planet has investiture, but I'll come to that later. Skipping has also been confirmed to be related to the swap in Secret Project 3, you know, Nightmare Painter and Yumi, I can't remember the exact name, but there's a slight connection there as well. Though this means skipping might be some kind of scientific magic way, some kind of arcane punky style set in the future. We don't know yet, but for now, it's unique to Sigzil. Hoid, however, it's been confirmed by Brandon that he has been very important in these last secret projects, and that will continue to be the case. Hoid will become more and more important, and of course, as we all know, he will have his own book or even trilogy with the Dragonsteel trilogy. And his apprentices, as Sigzil is, they're trained in storytelling and telling people of other worlds. But he has also trained people that are not apprentices. He has tried at one point to train Kaladin, also confirmed by Brandon. It, however, did not work in the way that he wanted, but that's another story. Speaking of his apprentices, we have not seen one of them. We have definitely seen another one of them, Sigzil, and we may have seen the second one already, but Brandon was not sure himself. He has, however, confirmed that he is planning to write their stories. Circling back to Sigzil, by the way, we will see the old Sigzil more and more. He's the same person as he was in Stormlight, but you know, he's been through hundreds of years of character development off screen. So on the one hand, he's very different, but on the other hand, at his core, he is the same person. So we will see him come out a bit more in that way. Now, considering the Dawnshard, of course, we see Sigzil having a torment, and not all Dawnshards come with a torment. And it even depends on the definition of a torment, but that will become more clear as we learn more of the shards. Because we have already seen people that are affected by a torment in the Stormlight books, maybe in the Mistborn books, who knows. But we wouldn't have been able to notice it as of now, for the moment. Only Sigzil calls it a torment. That's important as well. Others might call it something else, but it's just that a Dawnshard warps your soul, and for some people, the warping might be a torment. Others might think it's a boon. Who knows? But this practically confirms, together with the bond between Sigzil and Aux, and the lack of a bond between Risen and Spren, this confirms that we will see Risen more in later books, that she will have a more important role to play. Speaking of Spren, it's also been not confirmed but implied that Radiant Oaths could circumvent the problems of a torment or the consequences of holding a Dawnshard. So that's another one to look out for in this arc, because actually it's whatever happens at the end of Stormlight 5 or during Stormlight 5 has a direct influence on what we see here in Secret Project 4. It is the beginning of what happens to Sigzil. So we will see a lot of this in Stormlight 5, but probably also in the second arc. I still have a bit more, but there's the planet and the timeline as well. So there are no planets without investiture, as I have already said, but there are planets that there are natural resources of investiture that are not easy to reach, or easy to reach sources are not present. In this case, however, this highly invested sun means that this system is more invested than other worlds, which is part of the reason that Sigzil arrived here or got stuck here, because he is drawn to investiture with his skipping. In this system, there is also no active shard suffusing the planet. Note the word active. There might be a shard. Is it in this world? Is it in this system? We don't know, but there might be a shard. It's just dormant, I guess. If it's not active, it might be passive as well. Just overseeing it, but not actively touching it. We don't know yet. You can also charge spheres with the sun, with the invested sun, providing they are strong enough not to melt. Of course, white sand would be charged as well. And considering when sand melts, we're already halfway there to spheres. Who knows? We might actually get white sand stormlight spheres or white sand investiture spheres. This is some kind of it's a stretch, and it's probably not likely, but it's theoretically possible, so who knows? Of course, these natural resources, the sun, is a big reason of why the people have migrated here, in spite of all hardships, because channeling the sun would be an immensely powerful source an immensely powerful energy source. So he chose the group of people that migrated here very deliberately, because not everyone would be able to pull off what Brandon has planned for the story. As I've already mentioned, these Threnodites, these people, are not the OG Threnodites, they're descendants from migrated Threnodites. For the timeline, it's a little after Era 3 of Mistborn, so we can say it might be, considering Era 3 is about 1980s, 90s kind of tech, we could consider that it's somewhere in our timeline, because it will be before the 6th of Dusk novel. Yeah, it will be before the planned 6th of the Dusk novel. So this is kind of in between there. It's already in the space age, but it's not Star Wars style space age where we have thousands of years in the future, where everything has faster than light technology and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of in transition kind of stuff, I think. As of now, we'll see later. Some other stuff relating to the story as well. This secret project is less relevant to Stormlight Archive than Secret History is to Mistborn, which is not surprising, of course, because Secret History directly has to do with Mistborn Era 1 plot, but it is, however, quite relevant to the future of the Cosmere in itself. So is Sigzil, by the way. What else? We have seen the Night Brigade, and we know of the Dust Brigade from that Sixth of Dusk novel. Guess what, guys? They're the same thing. Sanderson has decided that he will change the name because it fits more, I guess. It is related to Night Aether, the Night Brigade, but not in a meaningful way. So, which kind of means, or might mean, that they just know of the Night Aether and they wanted to name their organization after it because it's very powerful to intimidate people, but it's not directly related to the Night Aether itself. The story was also planned since the first Stormlight books, so this has been brewing in his head for a long time. And it's also confirmed that he has been having this Count of Monte Cristo revenge style story in his head. This is not it. So this will not be a revenge story, this will be something very different. And there are some extra trivia, considering the stories that he has in his head. We have heard about this YA-ish story, with Hoid landing on a world where there's a kite-based magic system. Brandon's still planning on writing that, so that's not this story either. There are very few people that know about the Cosmere, but by Secret Project 4, about 10% of people will know about the Cosmere. That's something else. We have the Cavern world that Sigzil mentions that he left his clothes in. It's part of a minor plan, but it's very low on the priorities lists, but Brandon has a little story for it planned. On the other hand, Secret Project 3 wasn't planned either, but he did write it anyway. Who knows? Speaking of the other secret projects, except for the second one, of course, the Portal fantasy sci-fi stuff with the Frugal Wizard, the 3 Cosmere projects, all of them are set in the future. Every single one of them. This has some implications for what happens to Hoid, especially in the third one, where, what's her name again? Design has her noodle shop and Hoid is frozen in time. So this might have some implications for future Cosmere stories, but for now, not yet. And I think that's it. I don't know. Oh yeah, the 17th shard. This is something related to the story in one case, but not really related in another case, because we have the 17th shard who thinks Hoid's a monster. And now they have more proof of it because it's been confirmed that whatever happened to Sigzil is actually Hoid's fault. This implies that Hoid made some kind of mistake and Sigzil had to absorb the Dawnshards in order to save Hoid's life, or he forced Sigzil into some kind of situation that he needed for his own end goal, as I have spoken already in the Cosmere endgame video, and it had some unplanned consequences. We don't know that yet, but this is further proof that Hoid is a monster and needs to be stopped. That's all I have to say for today, guys. I'll see you guys next week. I don't know which videos. Considering it'll be the first of the month, I might do a book haul. I don't know yet. I have a little one. I have a small book haul, but not yet. I'll see what I can do. I'll keep you guys posted, but for now, guys, mission accomplished. See you guys next time.